Islam, Shalom, Assalamu Alaikum, Osio, Hola, Aloha, Bonjour, peace and love to all the Moors and Muslims all over the world. This is your brother Tarik Bey, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live in full effect. Thank you for joining me. Back at it again, another episode of Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Got some definitions for your head. Let's get it. I hope it's legible. I hope everything is clear. Alright, first definition. Discovery. Discover. And then discovery. To uncover that which was hidden, concealed, or unknown from everyone. Okay, so keep in mind how they said Christopher Columbus discovered these lands, or the West Indies, or America. Discovered. It says to uncover that which was hidden, concealed, or unknown to everyone. So keep that in mind. It could have been known to some, as like the Moors, but not to everyone, the European hybrids. All right. To get first sight or knowledge of, to get knowledge of what has existed but has not therefore been known to the discoverer. See what I mean? It existed, of course. There was people already here, but they said that they discovered since it was unknown to them. But of course the Moors were already over here. The Berbers, were already over here traveling and traversing these lands. Originally here, and others who traveled over here in antiquity. Okay, so discovery. In a general sense, the ascertainment of that which was previously unknown, the disclosure or coming to light of what was previously hidden. All right, pretty much so, to bring it to light. Pretty much the same thing. The discovery. Keep in mind, he did not discover, but in the legal sense, it was unknown to them, so it was new to them, so it was a discovery for them, the European Albion hybrids. Okay, discredit. Keep in mind, discredit can be used for a person or for paperwork, documentation. When I say person, I mean like a flesh and blood living person, or corporate entity person, which is paper. Okay, discredit, to destroy or impair the credibility of a person. To impeach, to lessen the degree of credit to be accorded to a witness or document. See what I mean? As by impugning the veracity of the one, or the genuineness of others, to disparage or weaken the relevance upon the testimony of a witness, or upon discriminatory or documentary evidence by any means whatever. Excuse me, kind of looking back and forth. All right, so that's discredited. It could be for a person or a document. Questioning the credibility. All right, well, let's continue here. Discrimination. So exactly, what does the law say exactly about discrimination? When discrimination is being described here, it's mostly in commerce. So they're referencing like railroad cars. Therefore, the duties of a carrier to treat all shippers alike and afford them equal opportunity in the market. See what I mean? But let's get into a more conventional use. common use in this day and age. Okay, in constitutional law, the effort of a statute which confers particular privileges or on a class arbitrarily selected from a large group, from a large number of persons, all of whom stand in the same relation to the privileges granted, and between whom and those not favored, no reasonable distinction can be found. In general, a failure to treat all equally, favoritism, underemployment, under selective services, even marriages between so-called Negroes or so-called mulattoes and so-called white persons, differential in teachers' salaries based solely on the grounds of race and color, even taxation. So these things can, sum up how one can be discriminated against in a society. Okay, so let's continue to move on here. Disenfranchise. Very important. I want you to pay very close attention to this and apply it to who seems to fit this description. Okay, to deprive of the rights and privileges of a free citizen, to deprive of chartered rights and immunities, to deprive of any franchise as of the right of voting in elections, etc. Keep that in mind. Who was disenfranchised historically? So-called Negroes, black people of color. Disfranchisement. This is a recap for disenfranchisement. The act of disenfranchising, the act of depriving a member of a corporation, a member of a corporation, of his right as such by expulsion. See, you have to remember these municipalities, these so-called city of, county of, those are municipalities, those are franchises, those are corporations doing business on the land as the government. We have to remember these. We have to put these terms in the proper context. We have to know exactly who these people are, who they are pretending to be, and exactly who we are. Once you understand who we are, that's why the prophet, peace be upon to him, said, more when you're done studying, when you feel like you're done studying, study yourself. We have to know who we are. Okay, in a more popular sense, the taking away of the elective franchise, that which is the right of voting in public elections, from any citizen or class of citizen. All right, let's move on to disgrace. Ignominy, shame, dishonor. No witness is required to disgrace himself. So if you are a witness on the stand, of course you're protected from self-incrimination under the law. You can plead the Fifth Amendment, that you don't have to testify against yourself or incriminate yourself. But you also are protected from disgracing yourself, standing on your honor. So you have to remember that. Always stay in honor, Moors. All right, so let's move along to dishonor. Exactly what I was saying, dishonor. In mercantile law and usage, to refuse or decline to accept a bill of exchange. Bills of exchange can be checks, Federal Reserve notes, contracts, things of that nature, negotiable instruments, or to refuse or neglect to pay a bill or note at maturity. All right, so that's how someone can be in dishonor. That can be either us or the corporations, and most likely it's always the corporations, if we hold them to task. If we know who we are and we know who they are not, we use these bills of exchange, notes, bills of negotiable instruments. We use all of these to our advantage when doing business and operating in commerce. Okay, so notice of dishonor. A notice given by the holder to the drawer of a bill or to a endorser of a bill or note. Endorser of a bill or note means somebody who signs like the autographer of a contract or some other bill of a tenure or some other bill of exchange. All right, that it has been dishonored by non-acceptance on presentment for acceptance or by non-payment at its maturity. No, in the contract, when they say non-payment at its maturity, that means at the end of said contract, or when said contract was to be concluded and payment or exchanges were to be made. That's its maturity in layman terms. All right, so realize these notices, when it says notice, to differentiate a notice from a motion. A motion can be denied or it can be approved. A notice is simply putting them on notice, letting them know. There's no like denying it. This is pretty much like a statement of fact. All right, and this is what more is used. Notices, not just a notice of dishonor, but notice of remedy, notice of remove of venue, things of that nature. Okay. So, coming to the conclusion, I don't want to make this too long, but a few more definitions for y'all. All right, so I hope you get these. I hope it's really clicking and making sense. Domicile, exactly what is a domicile? To be differentiated from an address, mailing location, or something like that. Okay, that place where a man has true, fixed, and permanent home and principal establishment, and to which, whenever he is absent, he has the intention of returning. It sounds like a home. Exactly what that is, a home, a domicile. But they use trickery and legalese to make us use, and on their contracts they use words like address, mailing location, residence. We, as the natural indigenous people of the land, we use domicile. Domicile is lawful. Legal and lawful are very different things. They love using what's legal. We have to stay in honor and use what's lawful. Okay, not for a mere special or temporary purpose. It's the domicile. So it says when a man has the clear intention of returning, so not for a mere special or temporary purpose, like a camping trip or something, but with the present intention of making a permanent home for an unlimited or indefinite period. That's domicile. Keep that in mind. So we're going to keep moving with domicile and keep going into more detail on it. All right, we need to hammer this home. De facto domicile. Now, we went over de facto before. You know, de facto means like not real, fake, non-de jure. All right, so in French law, permanent and fixed residence in France of an alien, that means a foreigner, somebody who's not of that land, a non-national, who has not acquired French citizenship nor taken steps to do so, but who intends to make his home permanently or indefinitely in that country, called domicile. De facto, because domicile in the full sense of that term as used in France can only be acquired by an act equivalent to naturalization. It's pretty much, it's very important. So it's saying you have to be naturalized in order for you to actually domicile there lawfully or legally. See? Very important right there. I hope you can make the connections between that a de facto domicile over a real domicile. They have us under a de facto domicile, thinking that we're living on these municipalities, these corporations, which is all on paper, not the de jure actual land, longitude and latitude locations. De jure land, all right? So, domicile of origin, very important. The home of the parents, that which arises from a man's birth and connections. The domicile of the parents at the time of birth, or what is termed the domicile of origin, constitutes the domicile of an infant and continues until abandoned or until the acquisition of a new domicile in a different place. Right? It's a domicile of origin. Keep that in mind. These words like man's birth and connections, these give you connections to land and actually let you know that we're talking about living beings here, not fiction, corporate entities or corporate persons, which are just paper. Okay, foreign domicile. A domicile established by a citizen or subject of one sovereignty within the territory of another. Does this sound familiar? This is exactly how the U.S. corporation is operated on our land, the Paternal Island, Northwestern Mexico, Maghreb, Al-Aqsa, Morocco. Exactly how they're operating on our land, as using it as a foreign domicile. Somehow in the sovereignty within the territory of another. That's what they're using. So the corporation is actually only supposed to exist inside of Washington, D.C., but they spread it out throughout the states of the Union. That's why there's differences between like federal law, state law, local law, international law. There's different, and then there's like corporate law that they're using, maritime law, and they're operating maritime law on the land. They're using equity law, corporate law in order to do business, making the Moors of this land and most free people believe that is the de jure natural law of the land, which is not the Constitution, which the natural law of the land, the highest law of the land, is the Constitution, but they're not going by the Constitution. They're going by their corporate municipal laws. So let's keep going. Municipal domicile, one which as distinguished from national domicile and quasi-national domicile, as reference to residents in a country, township, or municipality. See what I mean? Municipal domicile. It's different from a national domicile or quasi-national. So what is a national domicile? The domicile of a person considered as being within the territory of a particular nation and not with reference to a particular locality or subdivision of a nation. So what's a natural domicile? The same as domicile of origin or domicile by birth, which is over here, domicile of origin. See how it's natural origin, and then when the natural is like birth, connections. All right, that's how you know we're talking about flesh and blood living people here. So quasi-national domicile, one involving residence in a state. Quasi means fake. It's also like it's like sort of, kind of like quasi, different from national. So this is the state we're under, quasi-national, involving residence in a state. See, states were established on the land. We didn't have states when we were in the confederacies. As the indigenous people, we did not separate our territory into states. All right. So once again, I hope everything is making sense, Moors. Please like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and give that thumbs up. If you want to be notified whenever I drop video content, please hit that bell and be notified when I drop content. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Thanks again. This is Tarik Bey, Indigenous American More. Peace.